Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. And welcome to Smash Saturday, where I talk about all things Smash until we get a new Smash game, whether that's Smash 6 or Smash Ultimate Deluxe. Today I want to talk about the power creep in Smash Ultimate specifically for DLC characters, and why I don't understand what they did balancing-wise with the DLC characters. Now, this isn't a new thing, having strong DLC characters in a fighting game, because that's kind of the appeal. You spend extra money, of course you want something that's going to be strong, give you a good return, and of course also play like the source material that they come from. You want those things in a DLC character. In every fighting game, pretty much exclusively, you're going to find that DLC fighters are going to be exceptionally strong. If you look at Dragon Ball FighterZ, pretty much every DLC fighter that's come out, pretty much every, a couple of them definitely haven't, but most of them have had at least relevance in the meta or have been broken top tiers. You have the same thing in like games like Street Fighter. You've got things in like Smash 4 even with Bayonetta and Cloud. You have some really strong characters that come in the form of DLC. But what I don't understand in Ultimate is how they balance the game prior to DLC coming out. I'm sure they had plans for all these characters prior to the meta starting to develop. I'm sure they had them all in development, or at least had most of them planned out. So they had an idea of what they were going to do with these characters while they were balancing the main game. So at the beginning of the game, you had some top tier threats like Pichu, you had Wario, you had Wolf, and you had Olimar as well. All get nerfed at some point, significantly for some of them. Pichu went from a top tier to all the way down to mid tier for a lot of people, with just a few nerfs and some balances around her. Now, to be fair, she had a really strong F-tilt that was really good at catching 2 frames, was really fast, and did a ton of knockback. It was one of the most broken moves in the game. So nerfing that made a lot of sense. I think that was a fair nerf, or at least bringing it down was a good idea, but also did way more damage to herself with the electrical moves. There was a lot of stuff that changed that to the point where people didn't want to invest time into Pichu anymore. They decided either to go to different characters that they vibed with, or Pikachu, who was seen colloquially as the stronger choice, and even like the best character in the game for a lot of the early time in Ultimate's meta. You also had Olimar, who had a lot of broken things with the Pikmin. They had to tone some of that down. It was just too much. At some point, Olimar was considered to be the best character in the game, and if he had stayed that way, it would have been like really easy for Olimar to start sweeping competition. We also had Wolf, who had a down smash that was egregiously strong. It definitely needed to be nerfed, but it got nerfed multiple times because it was so strong. Then you had Wario, who had one of the best up tilts in the game. It was a great anti-air, it was really lingering hitbox, and it comboed into Waft really easily. And all of these characters lost something that made them ultra strong. And then you see the DLC's characters start to come in and get even stronger tools than what these guys had in the base roster. So it doesn't make sense to me how they balanced around these base roster characters if they were just going to introduce much stronger versions of these characters later on. So what would have made more sense to me is to tone them down a little bit maybe, or just leave them alone if you're going to introduce something as broken as Pyra and Mithra or Steve or Kazuya into the game. It just kind of baffles me. We saw the same thing happen in Smash 4. You had Cloud and Bayonetta really dominating the meta. They were considered some of the best characters, that the top 2, top 4 at the worst for like Cloud. Bayonetta was easily the best character in the game. She got nerfed and was still the best character in the game. So DLC power creep isn't new, but in Ultimate especially, it just doesn't make as much sense to me. If you look at Pyra and Mithra specifically, Mithra is a really fast character with some of the best frame data in the game, and she has a sword. Swords are always going to be really strong no matter what character you put them on. But on Mithra, it's exceptionally strong. She can kill you in certain instances with really fast frame data that pretty much no recovery on a lot of her moves. She has options to kill you, and if she can't feel like she can get the kill, she'll switch to Pyra, who feels like Ganondorf if Ganondorf had a giant sword and better auto-cancel windows. So if you don't know what auto-canceling is, if you land on the ground during a specific frame window for an aerial, if you land on the ground during that, it'll cancel the end lag of your move. Pyra has lots of options that are enormous, some of the biggest and craziest hitboxes in the game that will kill you exceptionally early for her aerials, and if she lands during certain frames, it cancels that and she can start doing something else. This makes her exceptionally scary. She was first seen as, like, if you just played Pyra by herself, probably one of the worst characters in the game. Like, just her speed is bad. She's got big hitboxes, but also bad end lag. But players have really figured out how to abuse her auto cancel windows and really abuse her range as well. Just catch you sleeping on any little interaction and she could kill you. So now having that as a tandem character with the fastest switch in the game, the fact that you can switch between them multiple times really quickly is egregious. Pokemon Trainer can't even switch between all three of the characters in the time it takes Mithra to switch to Pyra and back like 2 or 3 times. It's crazy. This character is really broken, and most pros will agree that she belongs in like the top 5 conversation, even if she doesn't have a whole lot of meta representation in like North America. You still have some players really popping off with the character. Then you look at Kazuya, who is completely overtuned. If I talked about how Luigi was a crazy zero to death machine, some of the best combos in the game. If you take everything that makes Luigi good and look at Kazuya, he does everything Luigi does, but probably better. He has better movement. He's much heavier. He can move around much better off stage. He has more mix-ups. He has better recovery overall. And his up B hitbox, if he does it in the air, has a bigger sweet spot. He doesn't put him into free fall, and it can kill really, really early. And of course, we can't gloss over the fact that he has Electric Wind Godfist, which I will say is a harder move to connect if you're like someone like me who doesn't understand the fighting game inputs on like a Smash controller. Trying to do that on GameCube doesn't make any sense to me, but people can do it. People can do that consistently. And the argument is that since it's such a high execution character, then it can be a little bit more broken. But Kazuya, if he catches you with one bad interaction and he goes through you with his Electric Wind Godfist, because it's invulnerable, you will whiff him entirely. He can just kill you off of a single interaction. It's weird to me that they just overtuned so many characters. And even weirder that they didn't overtune everyone if they were going that direction. Banjo and Sephiroth seem like egregious little oversights here. I know I keep using that word, but for real, Banjo is one of the most requested characters since Smash 64, and he is fairly true to his source material. I think he's well designed, but he's not very good as a whole. You have to do a lot to make Banjo work. And he's a great character, especially in Japan. You've got Toragiri doing a lot of great things with him, but you have to do a lot more work than someone like Pyra Mithra, someone like Kazuya, someone like Steve. You have to work really, really hard to get combos that are super simple with some of these other characters. And so that's what makes him a less interesting pick for a lot of people, because it takes a lot more work just to figure out his combo game in general, and then to execute it is a whole nother ball game. He's high execution with much lower reward. And then Sephiroth feels like a character ripped straight out of Smash 4 with crazy end lag. It seems like his moves just need to be a little bit faster. He needs to have just a little bit better frame windows so he can hit some combos and stuff. He feels like a single hit kind of character, and that doesn't really work in Ultimate, where like stray hits are great, but you really need some combo stuff to really become a really powerful threat in the meta. So Sephiroth's pretty good, but he's never going to be that top tier character, or even like super high tier character that people want to rely on, because he has so many random weaknesses. It's just a little bit strange to me seeing the DLC get so much stronger than the base roster, and I guarantee if we had left Pichu and Wario and Wolf completely intact, even Olimar to some extent, we wouldn't see any of them do as well against these DLC characters as like they would maybe have a better chance, but the DLC characters would still be much stronger. I would really love to see, I think I've seen some people try it with mods and stuff. I'd love to see pre-patch Pichu up against a character like Steve or like Kazuya and just see what would have happened. Same thing with Wario. It doesn't make sense for me that Wario got his up tilt nerfed when there are much better up tilts now with the DLC characters, or much better anti-air tools in general. It doesn't make sense to me that they nerfed what made him so good just to make these other characters significantly better. So I just wanted to rant about that today. I'd love to know in the comment section down below what you think about the DLC power creep, if you think it's too much, or if you think the characters are great. I want to say that a lot of these characters are very well designed. If you look at Steve, his kit is crazy. One of the most unique kits in all of Smash Brothers history. They had to do a lot of work to make sure the block works, the mining and everything. He's a really brilliantly designed character in the fact that he like draws from his source material very well, and he does things that you would expect him to. Same thing with a lot of these characters. But then they went a little overboard with some of them too, and overtuned a lot of those tools and made them a little bit too strong, and then left them alone. It would have been one thing if they had nerfed the top tiers in early game, and then the DLC characters they eventually see, oh yeah, they're way too strong, we nerfed them. But due to COVID and due to them just not doing a whole lot of patches, a lot of characters were left alone, and now we're just at the point where the meta is developing because the characters are just going to be the way they are forever. So yeah, let me know in the comment section down below what you think of DLC power creep in Smash Ultimate. I would love to see them changed in Smash Ultimate Deluxe if we get that. I would love to know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.